how are you? Welcome back to my channel. I'm glad you all are here with me today. Today I have another recommendations video for you all. So this is going to be a little bit more taboo than some of my other recommendation videos. Today we're going to talk about some of my favorite student-teacher romances. So like I said, student-teacher is definitely one of those more taboo romance book tropes, but I'm all about the taboo book tropes. Student-teacher is one of my all-time favorites, and I also recently read a new student-teacher romance that was just released not too long ago. So I thought since I finished that I would come on here and talk about some of my other all-time like favorite student-teacher romances. So let's get into my recommendations. I think I'm going to start with my most recent one that I finished. That's just brand new, just released not too long ago. And that's going to be Lessons in Sin by Pam Godwin. I'm a big fan of Pam Godwin, but Godwin's works. I've read several books by her, and this one also did not disappoint. So this is about our heroine. She is getting kicked out of her school, and her mother is tired of her not falling in line with what she wants her to do. So she sends her to this all-girls Catholic boarding school in, I think, like Maine, like New England kind of area. So that's kind of where this kind of starts out, is she is going to this boarding school, and the head priest, head teacher, whatever at this school, her mother talks to him, is like, hey, I want you to like no special treatment for my daughter, make sure you punish her for doing wrong things, and she's not allowed to come home, she has to like stay here. So he agrees. And so the heroine decides in this book that she doesn't want to be there. She wants to do anything that she can to go back home because that's where she wants to be. So she decides she's going to do whatever she can, do all the bad things, whatever she can, to try to get herself expelled and kicked out of the school so she can go home. So little does she know, the head teacher, he's, you know, a priest. He is trying to do anything that he can. He doesn't want her to leave, so he puts her through a bunch of different punishments, and they end up having a romance together. So this is like extra taboo. It has so many taboo like tropes in it. So we have the student teacher, we have an age gap. So the heroine is 18. This is her last year of high school, but she is 18. And then the hero, I think, is like late 30s, 38, maybe somewhere on there. And then this also, he is a priest. So if you don't care for any of those tropes, then this might not be the book for you. But if you do like some more taboo kind of tropes, this is really good. This also does feature BDSM elements to it, and I just really like how this was set up. I think I gave this like 4 stars. It was just so good. The chemistry between the characters was so good. It's very steamy, so if you like steamy books, this is also a great one for you. And I think most of the Pam Godwin books that I've read have featured elements of like BDSM, and I always like how she writes it. It's very consenting. Both parties involved are very into it, so I highly recommend this one. I really enjoyed it. So I think what I'm going to do for the rest of them, I think I'm going to go back and forth between, so like your student teacher romances, they either take place in a high school or they take place in college. So I have like half and half recommendations for both, so I think I'm just going to go back and forth with those. So Lessons in Sin obviously was high school. Now we're going to go to college. So my first college recommendation for a student-teacher romance is going to be The Unrequited by Saffron A. Kent. This is about a story about this troubled girl. She has a past she has like a obsessive personality, and can almost become like stalkerish once she like fixates on something. So this has kind of, she's not really with her family anymore because they're kind of upset with her about some of the stuff that she's done. She goes to therapy, so just kind of know that going in. Also with this one, this does feature cheating. I think this is my only book that has featured cheating that I've actually liked. Most books I don't like cheating. But anyway, so she just got out of this person that she was obsessed with, and she's trying to move on, but in doing so, she fixates on her professor at college. I think he's her like poetry professor, literature professor, something like that, and she finds this new person to kind of fixate on. And she decides that she's like madly in love with him and whatnot. But in doing so, her and the teacher kind of there's a lot of sexual chemistry between them, and they do start to form a relationship. However, said professor teacher is married and he does have a child. This is one of those books, so it's not for the faint of heart. So if any of what I've kind of talked about in the description, you're kind of like, I don't know about that. So if you don't think this is for you, I totally understand, but Saffron Kent has some of the best writing that I've found. Her writing is so lyrical, and this book just sucked me in. I wasn't sure how I was gonna like it because I did know going in that it featured cheating, and I was like, I don't like that, but I couldn't stop reading this book. It was so good. And this isn't one of those, it's not a short book. It's a pretty good chunker of a book. Most of her books are. But this was just kind of almost like a train wreck. I like to think of this book as both of these characters needed to get to their low point to be able to become better people, better characters. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I love this, because I loved seeing their character growth in this book. I also I really liked seeing their chemistry. Their sexual tension was so high. It was very steamy too. It was so good, and I highly recommend it. Okay, back to a high school romance. So my next recommendation is going to be Misbehaved by Charleigh Rose. This is, like I said, high school. This is a girl, her senior year of high school. She gets this like scholarship or something. She's from like the wrong side of the tracks kind of thing. I think she lives like in a trailer park and very, very like poor, low income. But anyway, she gets this like scholarship to go to this like more prestigious high school, which she's happy about because she has aspirations to get out of where she lives. She wants to go to college, whatnot. But she has a stepbrother, which he's like very obsessive with her, and it gets to the point where it's like sexual and kind of iffy. But anyway, she's going to this high school and she starts to form a bond and an attraction to her high school debate teacher. So it is their romance. I really enjoyed this one. I really like Charleigh Rose's writing. The sexual chemistry was really good. And this one, I just really feel for the characters. So I really recommend this one. It's so good. The next college romance that I'm going to recommend is going to be Voyeur by Fiona Cole. This one is the first in a series, and I think it's like the Voyeur series. So this one is how the series starts out. So this is about this girl that actually works at a voyeur club. So it's kind of like a sex club, but instead of the people that like join the club and are members of the club, they don't actually have sex with the workers that work there. They get to pay to watch out these different like sexual like situations. So whatever their fantasy is, whatever kind of sexual situation they're like into, if they want to actually watch people having sex, or if they want to watch somebody like masturbating, whatever they want to watch, they pay to watch somebody else do it. And it's through like a glass like screen kind of thing. So that's how this club is. So she works at this club, and her professor actually is a member of this club, and you know, he's in class with her, and then he goes to this club and he watches her do these like sexual type things. So he is a member of this club. He likes going there because he had some like trauma in his past where he doesn't like people like touching him. So that's a big part of this book, is them exploring their attraction to each other and their relationship with each other, and then him working through some of that trauma from his past to allow himself for, you know, have that intimacy and allow her to touch him. So this one was really good. I really recommend this. A lot of people really love the rest of the series too. Honestly, Fiona Cole is one of those authors that unfortunately is a big hit or miss for me. This one I really enjoyed. A lot of her other books in this series I didn't really care for, but there are some books in the series that I did like. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt. You might like all of the books in the series, but this one I think is a really good start to it. My next high school student teacher romance recommendation is going to be Lessons in Corruption by Giana Darling. This book is also another book that is a start to a series. This is the first book in the Fallen Men series. So this is a reverse age gap. So most of these have the age gap trope where it's an older man, younger woman, but this one has an older woman, younger man. Well, the older woman isn't like that much older than the hero, but she is a high school English teacher, and one of her students, the hero of this book, has a huge crush on her and thinks she's amazing, and they end up having a romance together. Yeah, I think the heroine is like mid-20s maybe, and the hero is 18, so there's not like a huge age gap like some of them, like Lessons in Sin, 18, and like a 38-year-old, so like a 20-year age gap. It's not the hugest, but it is there. And the hero of the story, he is actually the son of the leader of the local MC, so motorcycle gang MC, if you don't really know what that stands for. And this just kind of helps to sort of set up the series, but it is really good. I think the hero is just so swoon-worthy, how into the heroine he is, and he like ends up writing poetry for her. He's just like, he's a good hero. He's so good. I really enjoyed this book. If you haven't read any other Giana Darling books, I think this is a great series to jump into. It's not, all of her stuff is very taboo, but she does have some more like darker romances. So if you're not really like sure about more darker stuff, this is a lot more, at least starting out, a little bit more lighthearted than some of her other series. And she's very steamy. But yeah, so this one I highly recommend. It's so good. My next college romance that I'm going to recommend isn't technically teacher student, but it's very similar, so I'm just kind of including it anyway. So that's going to be Coach Me by Shanora Williams. So this isn't actually like a student teacher relationship. This is about the heroine is going to this college and she runs for the track team at this college, and this is her relationship with her coach, her track coach. So like I said, not exactly student teacher, but I feel like the coach athlete kind of relationship is very, very similar to the student teacher, especially when it takes place like at a college, you know, where there is that academia kind of element to it. So I really enjoyed this one. Shanora Williams is a Black author, so the heroine of the story is Black, and then the hero is Latino maybe, or maybe he's mixed. I don't know, something. He's not white. So I appreciate that. I just liked reading a story with non-white characters from a non-white author. So that's why I kind of wanted to put this on my list to give you some other non-white recommendations. But this one was really good. I really liked seeing some of the racism that the characters kind of face. So she is going to a school that is primarily white. can't remember, I think she might be the only Black athlete on her team, or one of the only Black athletes on her team. So she faces a lot of stigma with that. So I think that's part of the reason why she and her coach have such an attraction to each other, because they do kind of understand each other a little bit with that, and they can kind of help each other out. And she wants to, you know, go to this school because it's her best opportunity to become something more, to potentially become like a pro, like track athlete or something. But yeah, so this one was really good and I highly recommend it. My next high school recommendation is going to be Burnout by Coralee June. So this one's really good. This starts out with our heroine who, her mother has like recently passed away, and I don't remember why, if it's like cancer or something else. And so her stepbrother or half-brother, one of those, offers to let her live with him so that she can finish out her last year of high school. I think she is 18. I'm pretty sure, if I haven't mentioned it before in any of my other recommendations, all of the high school ones, all of the characters are 18. So anyway, so she shows up at her brother's like apartment, and her brother actually isn't there. She meets her brother's best friend, and he's kind of like standoffish. He's not really nice to her. And then later on she finds out that he is her teacher at her high school. So they do start a relationship. Again, this features like brother's best friend trope, if you're also into that. And I'm trying to remember, I know a lot of stuff happens at her brother's apartment where she lives, so I'm trying to remember if her teacher like lives there too, or if he's just around there like a lot. I think he might live there too. So I think this kind of features like a roommate kind of trope, or like sort of somewhat forced proximity kind of. But I do remember he was at the apartment like a bunch. So anyway, I really recommend this one. It was really good. My next college romance recommendation is going to be Misadventures with a Professor by Simone. Simone is one of my all-time favorite authors, so of course I had to put one of her books on my recommendation list. So this is about our heroine who, she just got a like teaching assistant job, or like research assistant, something kind of job for this professor in England. She's from America, so she's traveling to England to help this professor out. So I mean, I guess you could kind of say it's a little bit more of like a workplace romance, but like I still think it works for teacher student, because she's still a college student. She just happens to also take this job as an assistant to this professor who's doing research on something. Anyway, so when she gets to London, he doesn't actually live in London, he lives out somewhere else. But when she gets to London, she decides, because she is still a virgin, and I think she's like working on her master's or something, she doesn't want to be a virgin anymore. So she decides, like, the first like hot guys she sees, she is going to have a one-night stand with them, and she's going to lose her virginity. So she does that. This does feature a one-night stand trope. And then of course the person that she had sex with and lost her virginity to just so happens to be the professor that she's going to work for. So definitely lots of sexual tension in this book. This also features BDSM like elements to it. It's not as heavy as some of the other books by Simone, but honestly I haven't read a single book that didn't feature some sort of BDSM elements to it from Simone. So very steamy. This was it was so good. I so enjoyed this one. It was so good. My next high school romance recommendation, is going to be Dark Notes by Pam Godwin. So another Pam Godwin book. This list actually features both of Pam Godwin's student teacher romances. This is her first one that she did. This features a heroine who, like one of the other books from here is from like the wrong side of the tracks. Takes place in New Orleans, and she's from an area that hasn't really recovered too much from Hurricane Katrina, and she comes from a very low income family. Her brother, I believe her brother and or her brother's like best friend are sexually abusive to her. She also has a lot of like where she other like men in her life, like at school and whatnot, are sexually abusive to her, and she's just kind of like learned to kind of take it, unfortunately. So she ends up actually getting to go to this prestigious high school, this prestigious like musical arts kind of high school. So she's basically, her father like played piano, and she's basically like a musical like prodigy on the piano. So she wants to go to this high school so that she can try to get out of her situation, basically. So this is a romance between her and her music teacher, her piano teacher at this prestigious high school. This is one of my all-time favorite books. This is probably my favorite Pam Godwin book, honestly. This is a 5-star read for me. This is so good. This does feature, again, BDSM elements to it. But this is one of those kind of situations that I almost feel like the BDSM was like necessary in the story, just to kind of help the heroine. There is strong conversations about consent, which I appreciated, and there's also strong conversations about like no means no kind of thing. So like in BDSM, she has like a safe word that she can use in any time when they're doing things if she's uncomfortable and she doesn't want to do it, which I think she uses at some point, I don't really remember, but she can feel safe with him and trust him that he is actually going to do what she says and he will stop at any time, which I really appreciate. Not all romance books delve into that aspect of BDSM. I really appreciate that that's in this book. It is very dark, because you do see some of the scenes of her sexual abuse and rape. So if that is triggering for you, then you may not want to pick this one up. So just know that going in. But otherwise, this one was just, it's so good. It's one, like I said, one of my all-time favorite books. I will never not recommend this book to people. And then I think my last college recommendation book is going to be Bad Teacher by Clarissa Wilde. Honestly, I just really enjoyed this one. This one was just such a good time reading it. It's not one of those ones that's like super powerful or impacting or whatnot, but it's just like, it's so much fun. So this is about our heroine, which is pretty similar to the Simone book that I have on here. She is a virgin in college, and she decides that she wants to lose her virginity. So I think she's at like a club or something, and so this like guy that she sees that she thinks is really attractive, she decides that she's going to have a one-night stand with him and lose her virginity. And then turns out that the next day when she goes to class, that person is her professor. So just love a good one-night stand trope, especially mixed in with a student-teacher trope. It's just so good. Like I said, this was so fun. It was very steamy. The sexual tension between the two characters was really great. So again, this is another good one, one that I highly recommend. So make sure you check it out. And so that's gonna do it for my recommendations. So make sure you check all of these books out, and make sure you leave comments down below where some of your student teacher romances. I know there are tons out there, and I haven't read all of them, but I want to because I love this trope. It's one of my favorites. So if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more videos by me. And I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye guys.